Having a new baby, exciting, challenging at the same time. We know that about 10 to 25% of new moms suffer from postpartum depression. But as health specialist Leah Sarich tells us now, new research is showing that 10% of dads suffer from postpartum as well. 1 out of every 10.
That's right, 1 out of every 10, which is an extraordinary number because that's almost the same amount as women.
Yeah.
So that's extraordinary. This is very new research. This is very cutting-edge research. What they're finding is that, yes, 1 in 10 new dads are suffering from postpartum depression, almost the same number as women, and the symptoms are actually very similar in men and women. So let's remember, what exactly is postpartum depression? So this is a major depressive disorder that occurs shortly after the birth of the child that has to affect you for at least 2 weeks, and it's affecting things like your daily life. You're irritable, you've got mood changes, fatigue, withdrawal. But in men with postpartum depression, there is one critical difference.
You're more prone to anger, and I think it can predict likelihood of maybe some violent episodes. But we do see that men are more likely to be more angry and to actually use drugs and alcohol to help them cope with the symptoms, more so than women.
Yikes.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
that's exciting.
You mask it, hey, with some sort
exactly.
of... Yeah.
So that's a little bit scary for sure. And the biggest risk factor for a man developing postpartum depression is if his wife is suffering as well.
Okay, so that's a red flag if your partner has postpartum.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
But now let's just think about that for a second. So then you end up with mom and dad both depressed. So this is a major problem, of course, and that begs the question, what effect is this having on the child? So when you've got both parents in this situation, this is going to interfere with how they're going to care and nurture for that baby, so this is a problem. Also, a child's exposure to these early kinds of stresses leads to major mental health problems, anxiety disorders, depression down the road. And the newest research, which is really quite interesting, is showing that not only is it showing mental health problems, but it's also causing biological problems in these babies as well.
We're seeing a lot of new evidence suggesting that those early exposures don't just predict mental health problems, but they also predict a whole host of biological problems like inflammatory disorders, cardiac disease, obesity, the things that we hadn't traditionally linked to those sorts of early exposures. And we don't really understand the mechanisms yet, but the evidence is really quite plain that, you know, the more early exposures children have to stressors of this nature, the more likely they are to have a whole host of not just mental health but physical health problems over their lifetime.
Yikes, mental and physical problems.
Okay,
yes.
How do you prevent the negative effect on kids?
Well, this is where we really need to do more research. But initially, what they're already finding is that we need to do comprehensive screening of both moms and dads. So every new mom needs to be screened for postpartum depression. And not just asked, how are you doing? Are you feeling a little bit sad or depressed? That doesn't work because moms have a tendency to lie.
Oh, sure.
When they're asked because they feel like...
I'm okay.
Exactly,
yeah.
And they don't want to admit that perhaps they're a bad mom, which is not the case at all. That's not what we're saying. But what they need to do is have an actual screening tool presented to them, so a questionnaire, because the evidence shows that if they actually fill out a questionnaire, they will do it honestly.
Okay.
So then you've got moms filling this out, and because we know that moms are the greatest risk factor for the dads, if the moms are screening high, then we need to screen the dads too.
Sure, should be an automatic thing,
Exactly,
I guess, right?
That's right. So the moms are getting screened, then we're screening the dads, and then what we need to do is have supports and services in place. So we do have some supports and services already in place for women, but we have none for men.
Wow.
And we know that there's probably a link that if men have those supports and services as well, they will do better as well. In fact, men have shown in some of the research already that if they spoke to another dad who had postpartum depression and had been through it, that would be very helpful to them.
I bet it would.
Absolutely.
I know if I went through it, that'd be great if someone's like, hey, dude, I went through this. It's okay.
Totally, and it's okay, and you will get through it, right? You need to hear that. So that's what we're saying. So screening right across the board, and then more supports and services for both women and men.
There you go.
Yeah.
All this information on your blog,
All on my
right?
blog, you bet.
breakfasttelevision.ca. Click on blogs, look for Leah, and all the stuff will be there. Good stuff, Leah.
Yes.
Interesting topic. I never knew.
No, many people didn't, so that's why we're here.